All right, we are back. We are back. Live from Occupy City Hall. This is 815 Day Weekend. Oh, my fault. That's the mic. This is 815 Day Weekend. The 815 is out here celebrating. Celebrating the facade of the unity of the 815, and we are out here communicating about the realities of not only just the division of the 815, but the oppression, the exploitation, the racism, the bigotry, all of those things. So we're going to keep it running all day. We out here in front of the memorial for Lil Mike Sago. I had to reposition so that way I could be in the light, make sure my melanin could be popping off this sun. It wasn't popping off enough in this shade over here. But we're still in front of Lil Mike Sago Jr.'s memorial. You can still see the crosswalk up over here, crossed off a little bit over here for people that are going to the Art Deli in downtown for the 815 day event, even though it's August 14th. They're making it a whole weekend. I don't really know how you can make a day a weekend, but anyways, capitalism, American capitalism. We got chalk on the memorials. I know some people may have seen yesterday that the chalk was washed off the memorials. We got all the chalk back on the memorials, and we got the chalk back at City Hall. We got a whole ammunition war chest worth of chalk, so we'll survive people washing away the chalk. Okay, so I talked about the events of yesterday on the last live. I want to keep these lives that we do today with some specific topics and some talking about some I don't want to just have a stream of consciousness, so to say. So this is entitled, and I'm going to do some typing while I do this one too. This is entitled White Supremacist, White Nationalist, White Vigilante. I think it's in a different order though. White Nationalist, White Vigilante, and then White Terrorist. Now, I have entitled this live that because but what I want to do is break down these categories so we can start getting into a place of proper terminology. And that's something that I feel as if I have even failed at sometimes, where I've convoluted some of these things. It's hard to make sure you attribute the right thing to the right people. So let's start off with our racist white friends from yesterday, who let's find it. What are their names? Marge and Kyle Bevers. They own the building that the subway is in downtown. Marge and Kyle Bevers. Now, would Marge and Kyle Bevers fit best into white supremacist category, white nationalist category, white vigilante category, or white terrorist category? Now, an argument could be made that they fit into all of these categories, but we're going to just base it off the most recent actions that they've displayed. And I'm going to go with the white vigilante category. And then going with adding them to the white vigilante category, I believe we should have a conversation about what makes up a white vigilante. So Marge and Kyle Bevers. Let's type their names out. I got my Word document up. Type their names out. Marge and Kyle Bevers. Now, why would Marge and Kyle Bevers be considered white vigilantes? Excuse me. Now, Marge and Kyle Bevers could very well be white supremacists. They could very well be white nationalists, and they could very well be white terrorists. But what they engaged in yesterday, their actions of yesterday, was white vigilantism. They took it upon themselves to do something that has usually been done either by the city of Rockford or been done with some type of police involvement. And I think what we should do here is let's look up the definition of vigilante, so that way we're all working with the same definitions. I don't want anybody to be confused or anything like that, because I know sometimes they call like Spider-Man a vigilante, so somebody may be thinking, oh, is that a good thing? Is that a good? I guess context is everything. But anyways, vigilante definition. A member of a self-appointed group of citizens who undertake law enforcement in their community without legal authority, typically because the legal agencies are thought to be inadequate. Okay, vigilante. That is the definition of a vigilante. And so we're going to emphasize a member of a self-appointed group of citizens who undertake law enforcement in their community without legal authority. And so Marge and Kyle Bevers are going to be white vigilantes. They felt that The police were not doing an adequate enough job. One of the things they even said to the police officer was, we just got tired of it. We just got tired of it. And so they felt that the police weren't doing enough job of taking care of it. They felt that the city wasn't doing enough job of taking care of it. So they said they're going to take it upon themselves to take care of it. So Marge and Kyle Bevers are white vigilantes. Now somebody might say, why white? Why do we have to use these terms of color to divide people? We need to be united. It's not black, it's not white. We need to be colorblind. What I would say to that person right after that is that not a single black person has ever came down here and washed away the chalk. In the months that we've been doing this, I think about 6 or 7 different white people on different occasions that have tried to wash this chalk away. Not a single person that is black has tried to wash the chalk away. I've never seen a person of Asian descent come and try to wash the chalk away. I've never seen a person of Middle Eastern descent come and try to wash the chalk away. And I've never seen a person from my understanding, of Latin descent or Hispanic descent come and try to wash the chalk away. And so the reason that we put the word white in front of it is because it is clear that it is something about identifying yourself as white or being white passing to the world that has triggered a certain section of people to react this way. And again, I think what we should look up is the definition of white, because I don't think that is, if we were to do use the colors as a spectrum, I would not be the color black in the spectrum. But black and white in America have become, not because it's right or wrong, but have become political terms. The reason that we have to say Tyrus Jones was an unarmed black man is not because we think it is of more significance of him being black. The reason we have to say of Denzel Duvant was an unarmed black man is not because we think it is of more significance of him being black as a human being, but it is because black people have had their lives devalued. Black people have had their lives devalued from the moment they have been put over here. From the moment that the first African was brought here, from the moment that the first woman, whether it be a white woman or a black woman, were giving birth to black children and the child came out and was black, he was no longer considered in this country to be a human being. He was considered to be property, and property has political implications. It's the reason you pay property tax. So when the reason that we have to emphasize that these are black people when it happens is because of the fact that it has historically happened to black people, is because of the fact black people have not been allowed to exist as human beings. They have had to struggle to exist as human beings, but they have been allocated as political entities. They have been allocated as property. They have been allocated as these other things, and so you have to describe it because it is. And so again, but let's get to the definition of white. Let's get to why I want to stay on what we here for. Stay on what we here for. White definition. It's gonna be some crazy connotations to this. The color of milk or fresh snow due to the reflection of most wavelengths of visible light. The opposite of black. Belonging to or denoting a human group having light-colored skin, chiefly used of peoples of European extraction. Quote, a white farming community, end quote. And so that's all we got to get. That's the definition right there. Belonging to or denoting a human group having light-colored skin, chiefly used of peoples of European extraction. Okay, and so again, it's not that using the word white is to try to cause division or to be divisive. It's that if you do not look at some of these events in the context of white and black, you will not be properly informed about them. You will not be properly educated about them, and you will never get to a place in which these events stop happening. So that's why we gonna use the word white next to vigilante. If somebody disagree with that, go watch somebody else live. All right. So Marge and Kyle Bevers, white vigilantes. Now let's go to who's the other most. Okay, we got somebody called that we have called the slasher down here. It's a white man. Okay, I don't know that it's a white man for 100% sure. We have not figured out who it is, but it is somebody who for the past month and a half has went around to these memorials and has slashed them. Slashed the faces up, cut the faces up, cut the names up. It should be noted that the person who has done these things has never cut the face of Joseph McCormick, who's white. He's never cut the face of Suzette Babler, who's white. He's never cut the face of Mikey Guzman, who is Mexican. He's only cut the faces of the black people. He's cut Little Mike Sego's face multiple times. He cut Eddie Patterson's face multiple times. He's cut Kerry Blake and Logan Bell's face. And so, but he's not. But he's not an equal opportunist. And that's something that separates him from other people. Kyle and Marge Bevers came down here as white vigilantes, and they were not indiscriminate. They washed away the things on Joseph McCormick and Mikey Guzman, and they washed the things away on Lil Mike and on Eddie Patterson. They were just against it all together, all in general. Which is not something that is foreign. During the 60s and during abolitionist times of slavery, John Brown was a white person who died in the struggle for these things. White people have historically died in the struggle for justice for people of color. And one of the reasons why is that is how deep white supremacy, white nationalism, white vigilantism, and white terrorism is that they'll be willing to have collateral damage. They'll be willing to kill a white person. I watched a documentary where a white man who was going on the Freedom Ride said that he wrote a letter to his family, his will and testament, basically, to last words to his family, because he believed he was going to die on the Freedom Rides, because what he had experienced and what he had seen is that white people got beat and assaulted worse than some of the black people sometimes because they were white and next to black people. And one of the black people who rode with them said that was one of the things that when the man who wrote this, he would be severely beat, be put in a hospital, beat horribly. And a black person said that watching it happen, it almost felt as if he was getting it worse because he was white and he was standing next to them. In Selma, Alabama, Selma is one of the things that happened is a white clergyman was killed by white people because he was out there marching in Selma. And so you have always had certain people who are indiscriminate. Anybody who is on the side of people of color, or anybody who's on the side that is against theirs, whether they be white, black, or purple, they're willing for their lives to be expended. And so Marge and Kyle Bevers falls into that category. But the slasher does not fall into that category. He only slashes the faces of the black people. Now, before we decide which category we'll put the slasher in, I want to say this. There is a white man. We do know that this man is white. He's not. We don't know if he's the slasher or not, but this is a white man. He drives a pickup truck. One of the things he does on a regular basis, which I think this is funny. When I'm asleep in the morning, sometimes on his cot, he'll wait for a green light, and then he'll pull up real close to where I'm at, to the side of the street, and just lay on the horn, just honk the horn in an effort to wake me up, and then he'll drive off at the green light. And again, that's a microaggression. You know, all of these things are happening because everybody wants to have their say. Everybody wants to be able to say that they did something, that they had some type of action. And you know what? I'm going to teach them a lesson. Those darn kids, I'll go teach them a lesson. So, okay, that's fine. But one of the things he also does is when it's nobody, because we keep multiple people here, so it's people walking up and down and walking around, keeping an eye on the memorials and stuff like that. When there is nobody walking up and down on memorials or keeping an eye on the memorials, usually when it's raining and we're trying to take cover, one of the things that he does is he pulls up to the memorials and he spray paints the faces. Lil Mike Sego and Joseph McCormick are the ones that he does. It's real easy for him to slide through. Anybody who comes down to say their name square now, you can see from the most recent time in which he's done the spray paint, you can see it stained the light poles from the rain happening, because he does it in the rain. One of his tactics is to wait for the rain. He knows we take cover when the rain comes. And so Lil Mike Sego's pole properly has red spray paint dripping down from it. It's apropos. It looks like blood. The same thing for Joseph McCormick. It's apropos. It looks like blood dripping down from the light pole. And so we do know this. We do know that the spray painter and the honker is the same person. We just don't know if the spray painter and the honker is the slasher. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the slasher in the white vigilante category. Again, the police have come down before and torn down these memorials. Our current sitting intern police chief, Randy Burke, called the memorials of these people trash. He came out here and he was having an interaction with us in the middle of the night when they were stealing blankets all the time in the winter. And he said to his police officers after stealing some blankets and some hand warmers, go ahead and get up the rest of this trash. And right away, his police officers went to tearing down the memorials of Lil Mike Sago, tearing down the memorials of Faustin Guaitigo, the memorials of Demetrius Bennett and Logan Bell and Kerry Blake. And so the police, and this is all on film. These things are all filmed. And so the police officers have torn the memorials down. We've been given citations for the memorials before. And so you get to a place where people who are watching this feel as if the police aren't doing it enough anymore. They feel as if the city isn't doing it enough anymore. The citations isn't enough. And so this man has taken it upon himself to come and slash the faces. He's taken it upon himself to come and slash the names. So we are going to put the slasher, even though we don't know if he's white or not, and we're not sure if he's the honker or the spray painter, we're going to put the slasher in the white vigilante category. So we got the slasher in the white vigilante category. But now we have the question of, where my water at? Where my water bottle? Okay. Now we have the question of the spray painter and the honker. Who is the same person? I guess we need to combine that name. How can we combine that name, son? Hello, how you doing? Oh, I'm all right. Thank you. I appreciate it. So where do we got to get to a place where do we going to what do we need? We need a name. We got the spray. We know he spray paints. We know he honks. What do we name this person? Spray honk. I don't know. Spray. What? How can we combine spray painting and honking into one word? The horn painter. The horn painter. I don't know. I think the spray painting is more significant than him honking the horn. The honking the horn is actually kind of funny. Not that I'm encouraging more people to do it. It's some asshole shit to do. Okay, we're gonna call him the sprayer. Okay, so we got the sprayer, the slasher, and Marge and Kyle Bevers all in the white vigilante category. Spray honk. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, there we go. Okay. That's a good one, Bobby. All right. Spray honker. We got the spray honky. That was good. There we go. You see, collectivism. All right. So we got the spray honky, the slasher, and Marvin Kyle Bevers is our white vigilantes right now in our white vigilante category. Okay, Clyde. I'm not sure how many people have seen or any of the things that have been done by Clyde, KKK Clyde, whose real name is actually Ralph, we found out. But KKK Clyde was tearing down the memorials of Shannon Graves and Faustin Guaitigo. KKK Clyde lives in the old City Hall apartments. And so he was tearing down those memorials because he said it was close to his property and he didn't want to see them. He had the owner of the building also came out and was saying that these people got killed 10 years ago. What's the reason for all of these things to be up? This is chaos. None of this happened until Black Lives Matter. Yada yada yada. And so KKK Clyde also one time he was tearing down the memorials. Ari seen him tearing down the memorials, and Ari came to film him tearing down the memorials. And he knocked Ari's phone out of his hand and threw coffee on him. Him and Marge and Kyle Bevers will probably have some good conversations about their interactions. Both of them were real heavy on the hitting, trying to put liquids on people. And so KKK Clyde threw the coffee on him, knocked his phone out of his hand, and then after throwing the coffee on him, so he tore the memorials down, again, Faustin and Shannon, when Ari called him and was filming them and all of this happened. So then we go and we tape the memorials back up. It should be stated that KKK Clyde has torn the memorials down like probably 10 times. He probably done tore the memorials down just as much as the city by himself. So he done put a lot of numbers on the board. He is dedicated. But we more dedicated. So we put the memorials back up. We say that they gonna stay or whatever. We walk back over here. Ari leaves, and about maybe 10-15 minutes later, KKK Clyde comes to go get his beer. And this is early in the morning, like fucking 9 in the morning. And I would also make the argument a lot of these people that we're going to be putting in these categories are alcoholics or have some type of addiction issues and should seek help immediately. They should seek help immediately for that racism issue, which is also a mental health issue. But they need to seek help for the alcoholism and addiction and shit like that too. But so anyways, 9 o'clock in the morning, this man walking over to Mobile. Mobile got the best deals on beer around in the area. So he walking over to Mobile to get him his, I think he had Miller High Lights, which is, I'm going to tell you, Miller High Light is fucking disgusting. I would have respected him more if he had Coronas, but I know that it probably don't go against his, ethically, his code, his morals probably keep him from drinking Coronas. So anyways, or maybe he just don't like black people, I don't know. Anyway, that's all of this besides the point. So he gets his Miller High Lights. I see him walking back, and I say to him, and I'm filming, and I say, this is the man who's been, the racist man who's been destroying the memorials, tearing the memorials down. And he's like, yeah, that's me. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm like, this is what racism look like in Rockford. This is this racist man who been tearing down the memorials. 9 o'clock in the morning, got a drink to deal with his existence. And then he says, oh yeah, typical nigger. And keeps on walking. And I'm like, oh yeah, typical nigger, huh? I bet. And then he, I said something to him. He was like, I said, at least I'm not a fucking racist. He's like, at least I don't live outside. And I was like, what I say after that? I was like, at least what I say? At least I don't got to get drunk to deal with my existence, something of that nature or whatever. But then right afterwards, he sees a black security officer, that the guy the Metro who works at City Hall. He walked right by the Metro that work at City Hall. And I say to him, and he says to him, hello, how you doing? And I say to him, like, he not a nigger? You not going to call him a nigger? You not going to say, hello, how you doing, nigger? And he says, no, he's not one. He's not one. And I honestly, and at the moment, I didn't think about it to ask this, but my question is, how did you determine that so quickly? He had like, all he said was one thing to him. Like, is it check boxes? Is it like a hue he looking for? Or is it if the person is just, maybe it's the uniform? I don't know what it is. But for some reason, the security guard, me and him the same complexion, he wasn't a nigger. And so we keep walking and, eventually he walked into Old City Hall or whatever. And that was one of the last interactions we had with KKK Clyde as of late. But so those are some of the actions of KKK Clyde. And I have to go into the actions of KK Clyde because one of the things that has happened is we've had more dealings with him. And I believe that, and this is my opinion, I believe white vigilantism is usually a manifestation of either white supremacy or white nationalism. However, it's no way for me to group somebody in the category of a white supremacist or a white nationalist without having verbal interactions with them. And so, death to uniform, you're right, facts. And so, since we've been able to have further interactions with KKK Clyde, we've been able to determine that even though he has been doing acts of white vigilantism, he sure enough fits in the category of either a white supremacist or a white nationalist. Now, based off the racial epithet that he used, because there's a lot of people who would come out here, it's a lot of white nationalists who would not use racial epithets, who would feel like, oh, that's not, because white nationalism is... what's his name? Carl. Fuck, I'm fucking up. So too many damn names with K's. Kyle Saunders. Kyle Saunders is a white nationalist. I don't know if he's a white supremacist or not, but he's a white nationalist. Now, I don't think that Kyle Saunders, when he's watching the chalk away when he comes, I don't think whoever is going to haul off and say nigger or say typical nigger. I think that's beneath him. That's beneath him as a white nationalist. That's a separate type of conscious racism that exists there. A lot of the white nationalist racism is subconscious racism. But KKK Clyde is very conscious with his racism. He know what's going on. You got to spell conscious with racism with a K with him. Everything with KKK Clyde got to get spelled with a K. So KKK Clyde earns our distinction of being the first person. He is the captain of the white supremacist, category here. So we're going to put in KKK Clyde. KKK Clyde. We're going to put KKK Clyde from Old City Hall Apartments. Now, since we already sort of have broached the subject some, we should talk about Kyle Saunders. We should talk about Kyle Saunders, who gets our honorable distinction of being the first person put into the white nationalist category. He is the white nationalist captain. Kyle Saunders, KKK Kyle Saunders, is the white nationalist captain. And you know what? I did not do a proper way of appointing KKK Clyde as the captain of the white supremacist team. We need to look up the definition of supremacist. All right, we want to make sure that we're doing this the right way. So let's look up this we're going to look up the definition of supremacist, have a critical conversation about that, then look up the definition of nationalist, have a critical conversation about that, and then we'll talk about why KKK Kyle Saunders is a white nationalist, and KKK Clyde from Old City Hall Apartments is a white supremacist, who one engages in white vigilantism. KKK Clyde engages in white vigilantism. Kyle Saunders, when he's spraying the chalk and tearing down the memorials, he's not engaging in white vigilantism. He works for an institution he works for a white nationalist institution. He buys into the ideology of that white nationalist institution, and so he gets employed to espouse his ideology and actions, like tearing down memorials. So he doesn't need to do it in a vigilante form. He's employed to do it. The power structure is paying him to do it. So supremacist definition. The definition of supremacist. Now, a person who believes that a particular group, especially one determined by race, religion, or sex, is superior and should therefore dominate society. Adjective. Hold on, my fault, y'all. I'm trying to make sure I get all these definitions. Adjective. Supporting the belief that a particular group, especially one determined by race, religion, or sex, is superior and should therefore dominate society. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now, and this might be a hard pill for some of y'all to swallow because of things y'all done heard your uncle say at dinner, or your aunt say at dinner, or your granddad, or your grandma, your dad, or your mom, or whatever. But anybody that is just out here calling people niggers believes in the inferiority of black people and believes in the superiority of white people. And for this man to say typical nigger, oh damn, my fault. I tried to make that. I should have said Kobe. Oh, I made it. I said Kobe. I made it. Okay. That's the ideology. Those is the words of a white supremacist. Those is the words of anybody who has the word nigger in their vocabulary and at their disposal to use in situations in which they feel that they should be used. That's somebody who believes that inherently white people are superior to black people, that there's a section of black people that are less than. It's the reason why he said, oh, well, he's not one. He's not one. And the same thing. The fact that this man is, and again, I hate to be the one to say this, but the fact that this man is 60 years old and plus almost puts you in a place where it's unlikely he's not a fucking racist. It's almost unlikely he's not a bigot. It's almost unlikely he's not a white supremacist. That is the definition of supremacist. We should get into the definition of supremacism. We should get into the definition of supremacy real quick. And again, and I think that this is a thing that I don't say enough. This is a false ideology. White nationalism, even though I don't agree with white nationalism, is a more concrete ideology than white supremacy. The idea that you are going to be dedicated to the further advancement of people who are considered to be white in this country. The idea that you are going to buy into all the things that are considered to be advancements made by white people in this country is an ideology that is more concrete, whether I agree or disagree with it, than the idea that white people inherently are superior to black people or supreme to black people or more intelligent or more intellectual than black people. And again, the main reason is that this country, it's never been a step forward that's been made in this country without black people and people of color being at the helm of it happening. The first true advantage this country had on other countries to build their power was slavery, was slave labor. So how can you even have the idea that you're supreme or superior to a set of people when you couldn't even get the country off the ground without that set of people? The same thing, the land. This isn't, we not in Europe. We don't live in Europe. Even the idea of white supremacy would be a little bit more founded in a place where the more years you go back, it's just all shit that white people done did that's great. You go to Britain, all the white, and again, people argue about this. They talk about the Moors and things. We just having a surface level, we having a critical conversation, but we going only to the surface level on certain things. If we lived in a land, if Illinois, when you went back 100 years, 200 years, 400 years, 800 years, 1500 years, 2000 years, all the history of Illinois was all shit white people had done, all lands and things white people had cultivated. You might be in a place where you can have some type of white supremacy talk. But after you get to about 400 years back, 500 years back, the white people not even here no more. 600 years back, they not even here no more. So you can't even have a genuine conversation about the land that extends back to the beginning of it, in which white people even still have an existence in it. And so to be in America and to be white supremacists in 2021 is such a backwards ideology. But there and still, that is where we are at. And so we are going to put KK, we got a little bit off track there. We're going to put KKK Clyde in the white supremacist group. Now, KKK Kyle Saunders, we are going to put him in the white nationalist group. And I'm going to say this about, and we're going to look up the definition of white nationalism. But before I say anything else, I'm going to say this about white nationalism. I'm going to light my blunt up right after I say this too. When I say nothing, I do mean nothing. There is nothing more characteristic of white nationalism than weaponizing the police. It's nothing more characteristic of white nationalism than weaponizing the police. Somebody might say to themselves, well, no. The army, what about the army? The army or the government, The army and the government, things of that nature, are highly divisive, even within Republicans and Democrats, highly divisive. Policing is something that if you a Democrat and you running for office, you're not getting up there and having anything divisive about the police to say. If you a Republican running for office, you're not getting up there and having nothing divisive to say when it comes to policing. Police in America are intertwined like this. In America, police are believed to be able to do no wrong. In America, when you want to scare somebody, especially if you are white, when you want to scare somebody or get somebody to stop doing something or to do something, you say, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call the police. 911. And so, Kyle Saunders, the first time I ever had any interaction with Kyle Saunders, guess who he was standing next to? The police. He came out on October, came out the 3rd, we see the 3rd, here the 4th. Came out October 5th. 6 people will be arrested. Multiple people will be assaulted, have their human rights violated. Came out and said, you have to move to this designated protest area. And if you don't move to this designated protest area, he didn't say the words under arrest. But it was implied. He was there with police officers. And while being there with police officers, one of the things that he did, one of the cops had a baton already out. He had his baton out and as they like you pull up, they start out small and you like whip them or whatever, and they come out, they get long, they get extended. He already had it extended. He was already ready to go. And so that is the first interactions that we ever had with Kyle Saunders. Kyle Saunders would be the one who would then give the order for us to be arrested. Kyle Saunders, when people began to write in chalk on the stairs of City Hall to leave messages about police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice, when people would write in chalk to leave messages about what happened to Tyrus Jones and being shot by the police while he was unarmed and running away, it would be Kyle Saunders who would come out in penny loafers and some khaki pants with a button up, with his shirt tucked into his pants, washing with a broom and a mop bucket chalk away in the early mornings. They're playing Black Street. It'd have been about 3 black people on this whole goddamn street. They playing Black Street. They playing Black Street. Motherfuckers out here getting killed on the street. Black people out here getting killed on the streets by police out here. They out here having this little event playing Black Street. Lord Jesus. We gonna have a conversation too about separating house Negroes, sellouts, coons, and Uncle Toms. We gonna do that too. Okay, so KKK Kyle Saunders has been in, every time the city has come and torn down the memorials, it's KKK Kyle Saunders that's at the head of it, that's leading them. He's the head of Public Works. They come out here destroying the memorials. The first few times they did it, you could see the excuse me, the animosity in these people's eyes. Excuse me, my fault, y'all. I ain't gonna stunt. I had to smoke this blunt. It's probably not the best for audio purposes, but for my sanity, my fault. I ain't gonna hit it too many times. I'll put it out a little bit. But anyways, KKK Kyle Saunders and his minions, his white racist minions, all of them white. Everybody who done ever came and tore down these memorials, all white public works workers. Public works officials, whatever, public works employees. The first time they did it, they're cutting these faces. They cutting Lil Mike face up. They cutting Jovan face up. They cutting Eddie Patterson face up, cutting their face ups, ripping them down, cutting their names up, ripping them down. You can watch the videos. You ever seen Zorro? How Zorro do the Z real quick? That's how they was doing it. They doing fucking like they fucking Zorro with the fucking box cutters, cutting these people faces up. We would have stuffed animals and candles and balloons and things that really made these memorials look nice, like how they should all the time. And these racist white nationalists came out here picking up the stuffed animals, throwing them in trash bags, picking up the candles, throwing them in trash bags. Tearing down the names and the faces, throwing them in trash bags. And then right after that would happen, a news story would come out. The first time they did it, because they've torn them down 11 times at this point. 11 times they have been the memorials have been torn down. I think 6 of the times it was the Public Works, and maybe 5 times it was the police or something of that nature. But one time, right after tearing them down, they were speaking to the newspaper about why they pushed us from the back or tore down or whatever happened. And one of the things they said is that people have been harassed, that protesters were harassing employees as they were just trying to take trash out. Now, they were talking about the memorials. They say that they weren't talking about the memorials, but the memorials was in trash bags. But the stuffed animals was in trash bags. The balloons, the candles, the pictures, all those things, they put all those things in trash bags. So if they wasn't talking about the memorials, then what was they talking about? And again, each time that they do this, these items we have not got returned. We don't have these items that people have donated and brought down here. For all I know, KKK Kyle Saunders then gave the stuffed animals to his kids and to his aunts and to his nephews and nieces for birthdays and Christmas. And so those are some of the actions of KKK Kyle Saunders. So we're going to throw him in the white nationalist category. What's up? What up? I seen that weak-ass cop that you was telling me about.
Yeah, his ass.
Yeah, I seen his ass when I got booked. What you on? That's it. Where your team at? Oh, okay. They was all on your bikes before? Oh, okay. All right, okay, I'm going to get back. I'll get back. Okay, so we going to put KKK Kyle Saunders in the white nationalist category. And then we going to put the city, we going to put the Public Works team. No, we going to call them the Public Works Minions. But we going to do Public Works with 3 Ks. Public Works with 3 Ks. Public Works Minions. We going to also put them in the white nationalist category. Now, I want to say, we do have the names of these of the Public Works Minions. I think that it's appropriate that we put all the names, that we put the names where they need to be at. So I'm gonna release this list that we got here. But when I release the list, I'll put the names of the Public Works workers. I don't got time to look for it now. That'll just be a whole lot of time wasted. Okay, so let's go through the groupings that we got. So far, in the white supremacist category, we have KKK Clyde from Old City Hall Apartments. And what KKK Clyde has done is tear down the memorials in front of the Old City Hall Apartments. what KKK Clyde has done is he's also tore down memorials and other places that's down here. He threw coffee on Ari. He knocked Ari's phone out of his hand, and he called me a nigger. So those are the actions we got from KKK Clyde. And then we got in the white nationalist category, we got KKK Kyle Saunders. It's a lot to say KKK before their names. That's almost too much work. But we got him. And one of the things he's done is he's torn down memorials. He was in charge of the memorials being torn down, weaponized the police, has false charge. He had Terry arrested. Terry accidentally bumped into this man while trying to get items, and he had Terry arrested for battery for a felony. KKK Kyle Saunders. And again, I told you we have some people who are willing to let other white people. Oh, this shit getting in the sun. Hold on, let me push it back. Don't overheat. All right, we gotta make sure this don't overheat. We have some white people who are willing for other white people to be collateral damage in their efforts to express their white nationalism. Or if white people are standing too next to people of color, too intertwined with communities of color, the issues of communities of color, they're willing for them to be sacrificial lambs. And so that's what Terry Patterson was for KKK Kyle Saunders. I'm sure KKK Kyle Saunders would have much rather been able to get a person who is of color to go to jail. And then the Public Works Minions. Public Works Minions are just the people who have been involved with tearing down the memorials. But it should be noted that the Public Works Minions all signed off on a disorderly conduct charge in which an arrest warrant was issued for both me and Ari because we filmed them and had megaphones as they tore down these memorials. And so a disorderly conduct charge was put out. Those are the type of white nationalists that we're dealing with. This is the type of racism that we are dealing with out here. They're having people arrested for protesting. Because the issues they're protesting are not issues that they agree with. And again, okay, so then we got the white vigilante category. In the white vigilante category, we have the captains, Marge and Kyle Bevers. Marge and Kyle Bevers came down out here yesterday with with a whole truckload of water, 6 buckets of water, 6 tubs of water or so, and a big power hose, and came out spraying water all over all the memorials, sprayed me with water, had me arrested, weaponized the police. So we gonna put them in the white vigilante category. They the captains. Underneath there, we have the slasher and we have spray honky. The slasher is a man who's been coming around, cutting the faces of only the black people on Say Their Name Square. And then spray honky is a man who's been coming up, white man who's been coming up, spray painting the faces of Michael Sago Jr. and Joseph McCormick, and honking the horn while people are sleeping to wake them up. So those are the group. The only thing we don't have anybody in for yet is white terrorists. And a lot of those are going to be police officers. So let's do that then. Let's put somebody in the white terrorist category. And we are going to, in the white terrorist category, the captain of the white terrorist category is going to be Oda Poole, who is running for Boone County Sheriff right now. Oda Poole is the captain of the white terrorist. This is the all-star racist team. You know how LeBron was on the what was it, Toon Squad? He was on Toon Squad playing against the Goon Squad. So the May 30th Alliance, we got to go against the racist superstars. The racist superstars. They like the Toons. They like the Goon Squad. What was they called in the first Space Jam? Oh, the Monster Squad. I think that's what they was. The Mon Squad or something. What was it? Oh, okay. All right, so we gonna put Oda Poole in the white terrorist category. And now we're gonna put Oda Poole in the white terrorist category because as a police officer, he never needed to be a vigilante to enact his beliefs, and also because his actions have been of terroristic natures. See, KKK Kyle Saunders, as much as I don't agree with him tearing down the memorials and believe he's tearing down the memorials with racist intent and racist ideology, it's not a terroristic act. The same thing with KKK Clyde from Old City Hall Apartments. It's not a terroristic act. Public Works Minions, not terroristic acts. Even Marge and Kyle Bevers, weaponizing the police is very borderline terroristic, but it's not terroristic acts. The slasher, spray, honky. But Oda Pool, these police officers are the ones who have the power to engage in terroristic actions. They have the lack of accountability, lack of transparency, and the authority granted to them by the state to enact these terroristic actions, to take it to a different level. And so Oda Pool has, I believe, it's either 5 or 6. I believe it is 5. I believe it's 6, but shot 5 people. Shot 2 people while he was in D.C., killed one of them, I believe. Then he shot 3 people while he was up here and killed 2 people. Oda Pool was separated from the force. He was brought back onto the force underneath Tom McNamara, who's a white nationalist. We'll get into him in a little bit, the mayor of the city. He was brought back, and he was given a $700,000 pension by the city of Rockford, granted by Tom McNamara, and he's now using that $700,000 to run for Boone County Sheriff to continue his white terroristic actions. And so Oda Pool, he even killed somebody's dog. So Oda Pool is going to fall into the white terrorist group. Now let's look up the definition of terrorists. Let's look it up. I need to make sure Oda Pool didn't have his ass down there at the Capitol. Somebody find out if Oda Pool was at the Capitol. Lord Jesus. They and this motherfucker playing DMX on this racist ass street. DMX rolling over in his fucking grave. DMX, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, DMX. These niggas need to be playing DMX. Act like DMX when these white folks and these police pop up. Then they Talib Kweli. I shouldn't say that about Talib Kweli. Talib Kweli was struggle. I'm just talking about music and music. I'm talking about that music. All right, anyways. All right, terrorism. Definition of terrorism. The unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims. Now, see, that categorizes exactly what Oda Pool is, but that also encapsulates all the other groups, all the other things of white nationalism, white supremacy, white vigilantism. All of those things are combined and manifest in this terrorism. Because once somebody realizes that they can get away with enacting a white nationalist ideology or that white supremacist ideology better with a blue uniform and a badge and a gun on, and they can get that license to kill, then the first thing that happens is they become police officers if they're young enough. If they're not, maybe they just have their kids become police officers. And so again, the unlawful use of violence and intimidation. Oda Pool shot and murdered Mark Barmore inside of a church, inside of a daycare, in front of children. Let me read you an excerpt of Oda Pool's actions. So let's read an excerpt of the captain of the racist. Other than possibly, this is an excerpt out of a lawsuit against the Rockford Police Department in the city of Rockford for Mark Barmore being murdered by the police department, 2009. Other than possibly the children in the basement, the only apparent civilian witness to Officer Poole's shooting of Barmore said in the written statement she gave to RPD the day of the incident that she saw Barmore come out of the boiler room with his hands up and saw one officer shoot Barmore from about 4 feet away. The witness states she then stepped out of the doorway and heard 2 or 3 additional gunshots after that. This formal statement is consistent with the information she gave to an officer while still on scene moments after the shooting. Later media reports quote that this witness is stating that the officer shined his flashlight into the boiler room and told him to come out. He came out real slow with his hands up and his head down, and they shot him. He fell over into the sink. He tried to get back up, and they shot him again. This is inside of a daycare, inside of a church, in front of children. This is Oda Pool, employed by the Rockford Police Department. These are his actions. He's running for Boone County Sheriff off the $700,000 that racist Tom McNamara saw fit to give to him. Maybe one of Tom's family members is going to be part of his sheriff team, his cabinet as sheriff. A heavy-set officer was the one who was shooting him while he was on the ground. The witness's initial statement to police is at odds with Officers North and Poole's versions of events in some respects and consistent with their version of events in other respects. Consistent with the forensic evidence, this witness saw an officer and Barmore facing each other and saw the officer fire one time. Also consistent with the evidence, this witness heard 3 shots after she backed away from the door. A second civilian witness, according to her written statement, stated that she did not see the shooting, but that she heard 4 gunshots and then turned to see an officer with his gun pointed in a downward position. That happened here in the A15. They over there playing Biggie. That's partying. That's get money. Get money. I wonder if they gonna talk about. If over there while that Biggie playing, they talking about Mark Barmore getting murdered. Cause that's what's in the A15. They playing Brooklyn music. That's Brooklyn music, but this is what the A15 is. The A15 is not no Brooklyn music. The A15 is not Notorious B.I.G. The A15 is Mark Barmore being murdered inside of a church by the Notorious P.I.G. That's what Rockford is. That's what the 815 is. And as long as we continue to have black people who will allow our culture to be exploited for these white people to put on a masquerade as to what is going on in this city, we will continue to end up with Logan Bells, Kerry Blakes, Mark Barmores, Denzel Duvance, Tyrus Jones, Jose Gonzalez Jr.'s, and the list will continue to go on and on until we raise up a generation of people who will not sell out, till we raise up a generation of people who will not be house Negroes, till we raise up a generation of people who will find it just to sacrifice their life, their body, and their freedom to make sure that their children can have the liberty to have a life and a body and freedoms. And as of now, we have not had a single generation in this city 100% committed to making sure the next generation is of that mindset when it comes to communities of color and exploited and oppressed communities. And that ends here. That line was drawn on May 30th, and we haven't turned back since, and it won't be any turning back. So while they over there playing all of this music from places outside of this city that don't represent not only what this city is, but the climate in this city. The climate in this city. It's people of color over here taking pictures and partying, bullshitting on the same street that people of color last year had their human rights violated. On the same street that a teenager was arrested. On the same street that people was pepper sprayed. People was falsely arrested, punched, kicked, all types of things by police officers. On the same street, they out here. This is what they out here celebrating. City Market every Friday falsely arrest people, or at the helm of people being falsely arrested. It's nothing to celebrate in this city. Only people that should be they should be out here playing some Toby Keith. It should be some white people out here playing Toby Keith and what's the dude who made the song with Nelly? The dude who made the song with Nelly, the Over and Over, Tim McGraw. That's because those who should be celebrating, that's who winning out here. The people who listen to Biggie and listen to Tupac, they not winning. Go to the other side of the river and look at the things that the way mass incarceration is done in this city, the way police terrorism, racial injustice is enacted in this city. The mayor won't even say the names of the black people who get shot by the police. And then you gonna come across the street and play black music on a Saturday, calling yourself celebrating 815 Day, celebrating the 815. It ain't nothing celebratory about the 815 when it comes to people of color and communities of color in this city. Play some YG, fuck the police over there. That's what you play. You want to hear Nan nigga. That's one song you can guarantee not on the playlist. That's one song you guarantee. You know what? They ain't gonna be no NWA, fuck the police. They ain't got that on the aux. I promise you that. So, anyways, let's get back. My fault. See, I let myself get off topic. We back. We on the categories. So did we add some? Oh yeah, we added Oda Pool to the category. That wasn't too much off topic. What'd you say? Oh, okay, my fault. We got Oda Pool added. So now we got somebody in each category. We got somebody in white supremacist category. We got somebody in the white nationalist category. Somebody in the white vigilante category. We got somebody in the white terrorist category. And so getting each one of these people in these categories gives us a layout of exactly what it is that these categories mean and the implications that they have on the community that we exist in. And so let's continue to add to some of these categories and maybe do a little bit less talking about the categories themselves, and let's just do a rundown. So let's do our rundown actually by using our Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force pamphlet. See, this is how you do it. This is how you educate. You use a couple different things. Cross-reference. So Michael Sago Jr. was killed by Jeff Pobjecki. We right in front of Michael Sago Jr.'s memorial. Michael Sago Jr., 16 years old, shot by off-duty officer Jeff Pobjecki 3 times as he crawled away. Shot a 16-year. You got a 16-year-old son. Next time you see your 16-year-old son, imagine an off-duty police officer shooting them as they crawl away 3 times in the back. Then across the street from the hospital and then letting them die. So then we got Philip Johnson. Hold on real quick. I gotta light this up. Okay. So then we got Philip Johnson, who was murdered by. Let's flip through here. We got the names of the officers right at the top. Hold on 1 second. That's why. Okay. Amado Soria. Okay, so we're going to put Amado Soria in the white terrorist group. Now, one of the things that we are going to encounter here, too, is that very shortly we will probably encounter a black person whose actions should group them in either the white terrorist, white vigilante, white nationalist, or white supremacist category. The reason we will find that is because of the prevalence of white supremacy in this country. There are black people who buy into white supremacist ideology. It is a sad truth. It breaks my heart to say it. Martin Luther King Jr. rolling over in his grave. Malcolm X rolling over in his grave. But it is black people who buy into white supremacy. And it's right here in Rockford. We got some of them right here in Rockford. It's black people, who buy into white nationalism. We seen them on the 4th of July parade. Imagine being a black man, right? And again, I've never been in the 4th of July parade. I want to thank my mama for never putting me in no 4th of July parade because I understand as a child sometimes you get put in things that's out of your control. But imagine celebrating the 4th of July as a black person, as a black adult, when you know that Thomas Jefferson had over 700 slaves. When you know that Thomas Jefferson raped his slaves, had children with those slaves, and then enslaved those children. And that's the man who wrote this document that they celebrating. That's the man that they put in at the helm of these things. And again, all the founding fathers, and the same thing when the document was written in 1787, I think I'm getting that right. Black people wasn't free. Wasn't no free black people. Wasn't no. Now let me ask you this too. Now, okay, thank you. Okay, have a good day. I'll see you later. How they gonna play Nas Made You Look in front of Rockford Art Deli while they got an enough is enough, stop violence, stop black on black violence sign in the front of the store? I don't know how many people know how to hook for Made You Look. Go, They shooting Made You Look. So you go. This is what you playing for That's what you playing in this gentrified area of town. That's what this is in this gentrified area of town where they got this conscious coaching, stop the violence thing playing. It's just the hypocrisies for me. It's the hypocrisies for me. And listen, I love Nas, but you will never hear me saying no shit about we need to stop black on black violence. We need to stop violence. And that start before it start with anything in entertainment. It start with films and video games. Every Friday a violent movie come out. Some movie with people doing shooting come out. Every month is video games with shooting that come out. The news leads with violence. So if it bleeds, it leads, is the saying. So I'm not sitting here saying holier than thou. What I'm saying is we stand on all the same principles. None of our principles can be found to be hypocritical, philosophically or ideologically. But the same reason that black people would tell you that they participate in some of these events would go against playing music like this at the event. having a sign, being aware that you are in front of a store where a black person has saw fit to have basically a stop black on black violence, a conscious coaching, stop the violence. It's saying stop the violence. I know what it means. Anyway, okay, we getting into the wrong shit. Logan Bell was killed by Philip Statler and Jeremiah Cicero. So we gonna add them to the Jeremiah Cicero. And then who was the other dude? Philip Statler. All right, and then who we got here? We got Demetrius Bennett. Demetrius Bennett is 4 officers involved. James Presley, Ryan Marco, Mark Danner, Nolan Walker. Okay, we'll finish filling out the rest of these names. We just gonna put all the cops on the pamphlet, gonna go on the white terrorist group. Let's go to our mayor, Tom McNamara. We are gonna put Tom McNamara in the white nationalist category, along with it. And one of the things that you'll notice is that there are similarities between the people that are in these categories. Usually, people who work for these institutions, these white power structures, these institutions that, that are pervasive in white supremacy and white nationalism, they're white nationalists. It's why they go to work. It's why they go into those offices or why they go into those systems. And even if they go into them with the intention of not being that way, because these systems are set up and structured in a white nationalist manner, if they exceed at their job and are successful at their job, they end up becoming white nationalists. They end up buying into the system of white nationalism. So we are going to put the mayor, Tom McNamara, in the white nationalist category, and then we are going to have a few conversations about his white nationalist actions and ideologies. Okay. I think one of the things that people have to understand about white nationalism as we get into talking about some of Tom's actions is that white nationalism means that whether it be finance is politics, economy is politics. So let's go. Everything. H. Rap Brown said, everything in your life is political. It's just about whose political ends does it serve. Everything in your life is political. It is just about whose political ends does it serve. He said it is a political decision that black people are junkies. It is a political decision that black people are lazy. It's a political decision that black people are athletes, that black people are musicians. That's a political decision. The same reason it's a political decision that white people are police officers. A political decision that most white people hold positions of power in this city and in this county and in this country. Those are political decisions. It's a political decision why certain schools don't have the adequate funding. It's a political decision why certain factories were built in certain areas. When you go back into the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, when you see factories and certain things being built, you see that when it was a factory that was going to have negative impacts on the environment, they would put it in the area where it was black people at. It is the reason why black people is more prevalent, it's the reason why asthma is more prevalent in black people, because there were things that were put in areas where black people were at that through generations bred asthma. When you talk about why high blood pressure and diabetes and certain things are prevalent in the black community, it takes you back to the manner in which the first Africans put over here were ever learned to eat, the things that they had left to them to eat. People, and it's one of those things where, again, when you have a critical conversation, it means going further back. It means cross-referencing. And so, since we can all sit here and know, maybe some people don't know this, but that they say that the very earliest humans were scared of snakes. And it became so ingrained, they were so scared of it, the fear was so deep that it became ingrained, almost instinctual, to be born and to be scared of a snake. And so, if that is something that can happen over time, the fact that you don't think that through generations of black people can have those same type of psychological traumas embedded in them, to be scared of police officers, or to have 6, 7, 8. If you could trace your family back to slavery and you survive, because that's another thing that's not spoken about enough, is that any black person that is existing in this nation right now is a survivor, is of a lineage of survivors. There are a plethora of black bloodlines of African bloodlines that were wiped out, of black descendants that never came into existence, whether that be from the Middle Passage and dying on the Middle Passage, where a whole family was wiped out, or whether that be through jumping over on the ships because they refused to be enslaved, whether that be through dying through enslavement, whether that be dying through the trials and tribulations of America being built as being a black person in that, whether it be Jim Crow vigilantism, all of these different things. To be here and in existence now means that you are a survivor. But when you realize that when it comes to surviving, there are things that you have to adapt. There are things that become instinctual. They speak about how when a group of people are in different lands, their bodies develop differently to adapt to that land, to adapt to that area. And that's what black people have had to do. They have had to adapt to being able to survive in America, to survive Americanism, to survive the evils that befall people of color in this city and in this community. And in this country as a whole. And so that's where we at. So then again, we want to take this back to time. Hold on, I gotta move this back again. It's shifting. Gotta move this back. We gotta keep it in the shade. I don't want it to die. I don't want it to overheat. We charging it too. So, so Tom McNamara, the mayor, white nationalism. He is a white nationalist. That is the category in which he falls in. Now. When excuse me, I'm drawing a blank. In Minneapolis, when George Floyd was murdered, Tom McNamara put out a tweet. In the tweet, he said the name of George Floyd. He said that justice should come quickly and expediently, and the officer should be held accountable. He talked about the emotions he felt for the family. And it was a tweet, so it was only 140 characters. He kept it concise. But he did all of those things when this happened outside of his city. When Jacob Blake was shot while dealing with the police officers in Kenosha, he made a video on Facebook, made a video and talked about how he felt for his family, and talked about the issues of racism and, this in general American issue. And that's one of the characteristics of white nationalism, is that they speak about it as if this issue that's bigger than them. It's this issue that's bigger than what's in their control. The police chief will tell you, oh, what can I do about, mass incarceration or it's beyond me, it's bigger than me, the mayor is bigger than me, is an American issue, a senator is bigger than me, and that's what they do. That's what they do. They find ways to try to acknowledge that it exists in some manner, because as a white nationalist, they must give credence to racism and to slavery and things of that nature in some manner, because they are so intertwined with white nationalism and with the nation of America. And so they need to be able to say that they overcame it. I think that's the thing that people don't understand about white nationalism. Let me move this back just a little bit more. Oh yeah, I think I'm tripping. It's good. That's the other thing people don't understand about white nationalism, I don't believe, is that white nationalism, one of the key, it's the one of all these three groups that is the most fluid. It changes over time. It adapts. White nationalism adapts. See, white supremacy, the reason somebody being a white supremacist and doing the actions and the ideology of a white supremacist is more frowned upon today. The reason it's more frowned upon for KKK Clyde to call me a nigger than it is for KKK Kyle Saunders to cut the face of Jovan Fresco while he's tearing down the memorials for no reason is because it's more palatable for the taste buds of America now, because it's more politically correct now, because America has decided when they were in their efforts to be the world police, going out to these other countries trying to instill democracy and talk about how they were all for freedom and liberty, they kept coming up against the problem of seeing hypocritical when it came to the way they treated black people and people of color in their own nation. And so what they had to begin to do was to change the image of America. And in changing the image of America, it meant that you could no longer have senators that would be out there saying segregation now and segregation forever. which is what infamously was said by the senator in Alabama. You had to start having dog whistle words. I believe that's how they call them. You had to say, instead of saying you was going to keep those black people in shape and make sure those black people wasn't out protesting or wasn't out demonstrating. Nixon came into office and spoke about law and order. They speak about how Reagan was the best person to ever use the dog whistles. And so once that happened, and once it became in the interest of America because of their efforts of imperialism, because of their desires to become an empire and to go to all of these countries and set up bases and get oil and whatever resources they could, once they found that it was harder to do that with the image of America seeming so hypocritical because they weren't giving those same things to the black people in their own nation, and they were treating the black people of color in their own nation so horrendously, they began to change the way that they were treating them overtly. They began to change the way that they were treating them in the public, the way that they would talk about them. It became it was commonplace to call black people niggers. Well, that's why you got 60-year-old grandpa, 70-year-old man. He don't give no fuck about the niggers. Talking about the niggers down there at City Hall? Oh, you talking about those niggers that get a nigger that got shot by the police? That's nothing to them. It is through time America found that they had to change that. They had to adjust that. And so white nationalists act accordingly. Now, white supremacists not trying to hear none of that shit. Clyde's still letting that nigger fly around here. They still got their Confederate flags. They still want all their statues up. All of those things. They not no apologizing. Robert E. Lee just as much as a hero as Ulysses S. Grant to them. And so they holding on to those values. Those people are dwindling down and dying out some because it's been different generations. It's a generation of white nationalists that exists now. So a time of white nationalism that is at the forefront now. It was a time when white supremacy was at the forefront. White nationalism is at the forefront. And so in that, one of the groups that fits into white nationalists the most are liberals. Liberals are some of the most white nationalist people you will ever encounter or ever deal with in your life. Bill Clinton, liberal. I guess maybe Bill Clinton might not be considered a liberal. I'm not going to get into finding that. I want to stay on the topic. But Tom will be considered a neoliberal or a liberal. He's a Democrat. The Democrats here have allowed the black community to be raped and pillaged for decades. I believe dating back, there's only been either Democrat or independent mayors elected here for the past 2 to 3 decades. The mayor here, Democrat, just ran we're not going to get into that. But the actions that have emanated from this man, dating back to when George Floyd have been killed, have been hypocritical in the sense that when it is time to speak about something that is happening outside of his domain or outside of his area, he'll condemn somebody being involved when he can do it without having to truly take a stance. Because as the mayor of Rockford, you can say whatever about Minneapolis and not have to lose no votes from it, not have to deal with no backfire from it. You in a whole different state in a whole different city. But you notice when Adam Toledo was shot by the police of Chicago, there was no statement from the mayor. He said nothing because it was no longer politically advantageous to say something. He only gained from saying George Floyd's name. He only gained from saying Jacob Blake's name. But there was a potential that he would lose something by saying Tyrus Jones' name when he was shot. So when Tyrus Jones was shot by the police and attempted to be murdered by the police, the same way Jacob Blake was shot by the police and attempted to be murdered by the police, there was no video that he did with his setting his little phone up and talking on his phone. There was no press conference, and then he did not say, even in the statement, he would not say the name of the man who had been shot by his police officers. It's one of the most despicable things that has happened in the midst of all of these things that have occurred. Top 5. And then he would follow that up with Denzel Duvant being assaulted and beat at the hands of his police department and put out no statement. Denzel Duvant, whose picture looked like people asked us multiple times if he was even still alive after seeing that picture. picture looked like it could have been a modern picture of Emmett Till. Nothing. No statement. Jose Gonzalez Jr. shot by the Rockford Police Department while running away. He won't say the young man's name in a statement. White nationalist. He don't want white people to look bad. He don't want the police to look bad. When May 30th happened and when property was damaged and when the police officer's pride was damaged and when the image of this country looked like it was damaged, you seen this man coming out of the woodworks with black people up there at that press conference. He had one press conference. He was up there looking almost one of the goofiest things I've seen in my 29 years being alive. He was up there with a mask that said, listen. Up there standing next to black people with a mask that say, listen. Looking about goofy as hell. That's the extent of the dog and pony show that he put on. And then when Tyrus Jones was shot, he couldn't even say his name. He didn't have a video. He didn't have a press conference. He put out a Facebook post. When Denzel Duvant was assaulted and beat, no name, no Facebook post, no Twitter post, no tweet, no video, no press conference. Business as usual for him. Jose Gonzalez Jr. shot by his police department. Third act of terrorism. Third act of police terrorism. He won't even say the young man's name. Facebook post, that's it. No press conference, no video. White nationalist. He's trying to preserve white nationalism. Trying to preserve the image of the police department. Trying to preserve the image of Rockford, Illinois. The most racist city in Illinois. Per capita. That's how we going to do it. People keep saying, what about Chicago? Per capita. Per capita. Like how people do violence and crimes and things like that. They do per capita. They do it based on how many things happen or what things happen, and then based on how many people live in the area that it happens in. So per capita, this is the most racist city in Illinois. And somebody might say, well, why don't you leave? Why don't you leave? Go somewhere else. Move somewhere else. I have ancestors that have been part of building this. Anybody that's here, anybody that's in America, first off, anybody that's in America, first off, your people built this country. It don't matter whether it's what state you in. It don't matter if you in Delaware and Oklahoma and Idaho and Iowa and Montana and California. The reason that this country became a superpower at the extent and at the rate of speed and the efficiency in which it did was because of the slave labor that it had. And then even after they let go of that specific chattel slave labor, they had multiple other forms of what would be enslavement, of even to this day, of people not getting their proper wages, people not getting paid properly. Had to have unions created to try to get rights for workers, and now the pendulum is, and somebody just talking to me about this, but now the pendulum swung so far on that now we live in a place where we have these police unions that are providing these officers licenses to kill, and providing the cowardice of politicians like Tom McNamara to fester because they just point to the police union and say their hands are tied. Yeah. Okay. So, Tom McNamara and the white nationalist category. Let's move on to somebody else. I don't got time to just dissect all the Tom's actions. Who else can we have? Who else? I don't know the names. I don't know the names of some of these people. But we had a guy who came with a cooler one time on the 4th of July. We just gonna call him the 4th of July vigilantes. Well, that's sort of get the name away. I don't know. That's not a good name. All right, but anyways, we had one guy who came. He seen the chalk. And he just started yelling from across the street. We was on this side of East State Street, and he was coming from the opposite side. And he just started yelling, "What is this? What is this shit? What is this shit? Why would you write this? Why would you write this? You need to respect the police." He just yelling this shit like, his face. You can just see his face getting redder and redder. I'm guessing he was drinking some tequila earlier. Some light, he finna drink some more later too. But anyways, and I get my camera out and I start filming him, He was like, get rid of this shit. You need to get rid of this shit. I'm filming a video. I'm like, what? I don't remember what I said to him. But anyways, this is what the point. He leaves, goes into some bar on the side of East State Street. I don't see him. But then he manifests. And I say manifest because I didn't see him walk. I just looked up and he was there. He manifests there with the big ass cooler of water. And he dumps this cooler of water onto the chalk. He dumped this cooler of water onto the chalk. And I'm going to film him, and then he start running. He like stumbling. As he come with the cooler, he like wobbling some. I can tell he probably had a few more of them tequila shots. He wobbling some, and he just dumped the water out. Now, what he didn't understand, and what obviously these other white vigilantes that we have, Marge and Kyle Bevers, definitely understood, was that it was going to take more than just dumping the bucket of water to wash it off. He didn't have no instrument to scrub. You got to do some type of scrubbing. The power washer is some force in it or whatever. But so what he dumped the water on, it didn't do nothing. It just made the colors a little bit more darker or whatever. I think that's sort of what happened. I don't know if darker the right word, but the contrast of the colors just changed some. But then he started running. I'm trying to film him, and then he running. He take off running, trying to get to his truck. He's stumbling some. He wobbling his shit, tripping over himself. He get to the car and he hop in his truck. And one of the commonalities with a lot of these people, pickup trucks. The number one vehicle of all of these group of people are pickup trucks. And also, I don't even know if any of these people have a sedan. Well, no, sedan. I mean, sedans are very good. I'm gonna say I think they all sedans and pickup trucks. I don't know. Anyways, I don't even know. My point is, we have to call him something, name him something, and then we have to put him in the white vigilante category, along with Marge, Kyle, the slasher, and the spray honky. Cooler. We just gonna call him the cooler guy. We call him the cooler guy for now. All right. So we got the cooler guy. Now, after the cooler guy did this, the next day, maybe like 12 to not even 12 hours later, less than 12 hours later, somebody else comes out and he has a gallon. He has 2 gallons of water, and he has a brush. I don't know if it's a brush. It's like a push broom or something like that. I think that's what they call them. But he's got a push broom, 2 gallons of water. He pulls up in an SUV, either SUVs or trucks. I don't even know if it's anybody with a small car. That's what I was gonna say, or like Anyways, pulls up in the truck. A woman drove him there. A woman was driving the car. He gets out, pops the trunk, gets the gallons of water, gets his push broom and starts pouring the water on the ground, and then starts pushing and scrubbing it up. I heard the scrubs. Terry filmed this first part, so that's how I know how it happened. But I heard the scrubs as I was putting chalk somewhere else. And so I walk up, and I'm thinking like, damn, why Terry washing the chalk? Because I just heard the scrubbing. And then I seen this man with this big push broom washing the chalk. And so I just got my phone out, went up and filmed it. And again, the only way we are going to be able to eradicate this racism, this police terrorism, and mass incarceration is to make sure it is no longer happening covertly. It's to make sure that it is happening overtly, to make sure it is happening out in the open. These things can no longer be allowed to happen in the dark. That's why these phones exist. That's why this social media exists. That's not why they exist. You know what I'm saying? Hell yeah, I went and filmed them. Then nobody tried to assault this man. Then nobody tried to stop him from washing the chalk away. I filmed him. I have every right to film these people doing these things. And one of the things that white people have been doing is trying to entitle this as harassment. They have been trying to entitle them being filmed engaging in these racist actions as harassment because they don't want people to know that they're in Illinois. You don't put the Confederate flag outside your house unless you're just trying to alienate everybody. Man, you put it in the crib. Put it in the crib, bro. You gotta put that in the crib. Put that in the kitchen. No, don't put it on the front. And that's what it is out here. Oh, you gotta wear that shirt inside. Don't wear it outside. Wear it inside. We talk about this a month. Oh, you can't talk about that with nobody. But that is what it is here. And until we force it to be in the light, until we force it to be something that is part of the everyday conversation, something that becomes at the forefront of the consciousness of this city. We will never get to a place in which it becomes eradicated. So yeah, I went over there and I filmed him. Terry filmed him as well. He watched away 3 fuck the polices. I could tell he was honed in on the fuck the polices. Watched away the 3 fuck the polices. And then I wonder if they watch Ice Cube movies. I wonder that. Do the people who are out here having this hissy fit over this chalk, do they watch Ice Cube movies? Nah, they probably don't. I'm thinking back on all the people who done did this. They ain't watching no damn Ice Cube movies. Okay, anyways. Shout out to Ice Cube. So we need a name for this guy. So he watched away 3 of the fuck the polices. But then he got to something that we had written that said, the whole world is watching, and he paused. And I'm filming him, and I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Please wash away something that says the whole world is watching while the whole world is watching. The whole world wasn't watching at the time. It was like 25, 30 live viewers. But it did get a lot of play. They ended up getting some thousands. It's ended up in the thousands. Give it some time. The whole world gonna see it. Give it some time. And he elected to stop at that point. He grabbed his water and his bucket, took his ball, and went home. So we need a name for him. Well, he's a white vigilante. He had a push broom. He had the gallons of water. It was the 4th of July. What do we call him? Oh, damn it. I need the blunt to help me come up with a name. It's gone. What do we call him? Ah, man, I don't know what we call him. We just gonna call him Push Broom Guy. We gonna call him Push Broom Guy. They don't need good nicknames. They should have bad nicknames. Just pick the worst nicknames ever for their ass. They should have no fucking cool nicknames. Okay, so we got Push Broom Guy. Okay, so that gives us with 1, 2, 3. That gives us with 1 person in the white supremacist category, 1 person in the 3 people in the white nationalist category, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in the white vigilante category, and we got a bunch of cops in the white terrorist category. So we got representation in every category. We don't have another white supremacist though. KKK Clyde is there by himself. I don't think that's right. He's probably lonely. Okay, so who do we have that fits the bill of white? Oh, I think we got somebody. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. Is he white nationalist or white supremacist? We got a man who organized was a white nationalist, right? I don't know. John Cabello. See, he used the... John Cabello a white supremacist, man. It ain't no way around that shit. He's a white supremacist, man. I done heard this man talk. He called the police angels, man. John Cabello. We putting John Cabello in there. We're going to put John Cabello in the white supremacist category. I'm sorry, I was just blue. Okay, John Cabello going to be in the white supremacist category. Damn, I damn near got to stop this. I'm not even finished stunt. I'm going to have to stop this, get a coconut water. I think we have established something here that we can continue to do in the future. We're not going to be able to get to everybody on this one right here. I'm going to name this document white, I don't know what I'm gonna name. I'm going with white nationalist, white terrorist. Oh, we do categories of racism. There we go. Categories of racist. Okay, there we go. Categories of racist. We got that saved. We got some people in there. If you don't want to say, just Okay, I got it. Just save that. Just make sure you say that. All right, categories are right. So we got that save. Exit, 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 exit. No, don't save that other page. Don't save this stuff. Okay, exit. Okay, we got all the tabs closed. Oh, Spotify open. Why is Spotify? How Spotify just be popping open all the time? Okay, we got Spotify closed. We are at 127. We are not done. Like I said, as long as this 814 day event is going on in honor of 815 day, we're going to keep this live going. We're going to keep on speaking about some of the other parts of 815. Again, we're in a place where we have too many people that are celebratory of this false narrative of the 815, and not enough people who are willing to struggle with the truth of the 815. Not enough people who are willing to struggle with the injustice of the 815. Again, this pamphlet that we have right here, all of these people are people who were killed by police officers in the 815. These are people who were murdered by Rockford Police Department officers. These officers are still on the force. Some of them probably out here celebrating 815 Day. Some of them out here celebrating 815 Day. They just was down here listening to them rapping. Jeff Jackie probably out here with his kids, just going into Rockford Art Deli trying to get a shirt, listening to this. So justice for Mark Barmore, justice for Michael Sago Jr., justice for Jovan Fresco, justice for Philip Johnson, justice for Logan Bell, justice for Demetrius Bennett, justice for Eddie Patterson, justice for Kerry Blake, justice for Eugene Washington, justice for Joseph McCormick, justice for Mikey Guzman, justice for Tyrus Jones, justice for Jose Gonzalez Jr., justice for Faustin Guaitigo, justice for Joy Lambert, justice for Raymond Jackson, justice for Todd Bamberger, justice for the victims of May 30th, justice for the victims of City Market 2020, justice for the victims of Occupy City Hall. Fuck 815 Day. We outside.